Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber One News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Good Monday morning to you here. It's the 19th of October. We're getting closer and closer, not only to that general election, but Halloween, and, well, fall is upon us. Good morning, Spencer. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. I've got my coffee IV drip going, and I'm doing all right. Thank you.
Is it a pumpkin spice IV drip?
No, I have some philosophical differences with that flavor. It's just everywhere, so I have to battle it and be the one person not indulging.
It certainly is everywhere, to be sure. What's going on with the weather today? We saw all sorts of conditions over the weekend.
Yeah, it was a really nice fall day yesterday in Grapeview for sure. And I went out to a Gig Harbor to do a little shopping I had to do, and it was very nice. Today, clouds and some sun, and clouds for the afternoon, but there shouldn't be any rain today, a high of 59.
You are talking with the owner of Soul Physio Lifestyle today. Who is that and what's it about?
Yeah, so Aneesh Chaudry is a brain health coach, and I don't know about you, but my brain could use a little more health. He talks with us about the power of the mind and how we can help our kids get through remote learning and stuff like that. He's a really interesting guy. He does a lot of stuff on the mind and the power of the mind.
Mason County Public Health notified Friday afternoon of 5 additional Mason County residents testing positive for COVID-19. Total now is 527. There are no residents in or outside Mason County that are hospitalized right now. 56 active cases are ongoing. And as of the last released, again, Friday afternoon, no new confirmed cases related to that outbreak at the long-term care facility either.
With King County election officials predicting voter turnout up to 90%, early indications already show record-breaking numbers of ballots being returned as of yesterday. Como reports officials estimate that between just Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, upwards of 50,000 ballots have been dropped off in ballot boxes. The previous record for the number of ballots turned in on the first 5 days of early voting in Washington's most populous county was 16,015. On Saturday, the county tweeted that multiple drop boxes had become so full that voters were unable to get their ballot through the slot.
Well, make sure that you get your ballot into one of the 10 drop boxes across Mason County or into the mailbox so it can be postmarked and into the auditor's office. We are just finishing up the posting of a series of videos that we've done with the auditor's office, including ballot security, the path of your ballot, and then just a general conversation with Mason County Auditor Patty McGuire and Elections Manager Fina Ormond talking about election misconceptions. And those are on our YouTube and website, Facebook page. If they're not right now, they will be by the end of the day, end of the week. Great information from the auditor's office on this. And yeah, people are voting. The turnout numbers already are just amazing to hear about how many folks have voted so far this year compared to 2016.
No, absolutely. A person is in jail after a Washington State Patrol aircraft was hit with a laser light over Tumwater. The aircraft was helping locate an elderly man who had wandered away from caregivers when it happened. Tumwater police say the man was found Friday morning. It's the latest incident of a dangerous practice that can have serious consequences, officials said. Lasers can blind a pilot temporarily, making them unable to see their instruments, and even lead to permanent eye damage. Disrupting a pilot is a felony in Washington. Violators can be fined $11,000 per incident by the Federal Aviation Administration.
City of Shelton will host a virtual community open house for Shelton residents to meet the 3 final candidates for Shelton's next police chief. It's going to be Wednesday from 4 to 5:30. The candidates are Ronald Schaub from Pierce County Sheriff's Office, Ton Fan from the Davis Police Department, and Carol Beeson from the San Diego Police Department. More information on the search for a new chief can be also found at sheltonwa.gov/police chief. More news coming up this morning, this Monday morning, and a great conversation as well as Daybreak rolls on. Good morning to you.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Well, Monday morning rolls on here on the Daybreak Show. And again, good morning, Spencer.
Hey, good morning to you.
Gas prices down about 2.5 cents per gallon in the last week. $2.70 is the average today, according to Gas Buddy. 2.2 cents per gallon lower than a month ago. 64 cents per gallon lower than a year ago. National average for gas is $2.15.
Health professionals are concerned about the overlap this winter of flu season and the COVID-19 pandemic and are asking that people prepare themselves. Eric Tegedoff has more.
Health professionals are concerned about the overlap this winter of flu season and the COVID-19 pandemic and are asking that people prepare themselves. Raj Sundar, a family medicine physician for Kaiser Permanente in Burien, says the colder weather will make it especially tricky for avoiding coronavirus and the flu as activities move inside. He says there's also concern about how the viruses will interact with each other.
There are a lot of complications that can happen if you not only get the flu and the coronavirus or COVID-19 at the same time, but we know if you experience the flu that you're prone to complications if you subsequently contract COVID-19.
While there's not yet a vaccine for COVID-19, Sundar points out that a vaccine is available for the seasonal flu. He advises people to contact their doctors about getting a flu shot and says folks can find locations for those vaccinations online at getmyflushot.org. And the need for basic hygiene can't be overstated. Washing hands regularly, keeping them away from your face, and avoiding people who are sick. Sundar says avoiding the flu will help healthcare professionals as well.
Healthcare system resources are already strained, so having complications from the flu will not only strain the healthcare system even more, but will put you at risk not getting the care you need because of our current pandemic.
He notes people of color have historically faced disproportionate effects from the flu, and so prevention in communities of color is especially important. He says flu activity in the southern hemisphere has been lower than usual, which could be a good sign for the United States as winter approaches in this hemisphere. For Washington News Service, I'm Eric Tegedoff.
Thanks, Eric. Well, this week should hold the third and final presidential debate from Belmont University in Nashville. It's going to be on the 22nd, and we will have coverage of that if it continues. You know, we didn't have that last one. Start time is at 6, but we'll have a pre-show at 5, kind of focusing on what we're going to be hearing there, and then a little debate analysis afterwards. Again, that's coming up this week, the final debate here this Thursday on AM 1030 and FM 1033.
We just got word in, by the way, breaking news, that this is going to be a dancing with the candidate format instead of the town hall. So they're trying to jazz it up a little bit. Yeah,
okay.
So I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We got to have some fun here. It's been a really rough year. The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife is looking for applicants for up to 12 vacant positions on its Puget Sound Recreational Fisheries Enhancement Fund Oversight Committee, which helps to advise the department on investments to conserve, enhance, and promote recreational fishing with Puget Sound and Lake Washington. Comprised of members who live in the Puget Sound area, the committee helps identify investments and projects that help to support research, hatchery facilities, marketing and outreach, and habitat restoration throughout Puget Sound. New committee members will be expected to serve a 2-year term and participate in quarterly meetings, primarily held virtually. Find the contact information under local news on iFiber1newsradio.com.
Shellfish managers continue to have razor clam digs throughout the rest of this month and into December. Of course, though, the agency continues to emphasize digging while distant because of the pandemic. Stay home if you're sick, practice social distancing, mask up, bring your own PPE like hand sanitizer. Again, leave no trace, so whatever you brought in, take out with you. Use your cards. Non-cash payment helps to reduce contact. And, of course, follow local ordinances because they may be different than your county if you're coming from another location. So still today, tomorrow, and Wednesday into the evening here for these ones. Like tonight is 9:24 this evening at Long Beach, Twin Harbors, and Capelas. Seahawks play the Cards this weekend, Spencer. Pregame at 11, kickoff at 1. Seahawks had a bye this week. They're 5-0 going in to this upcoming week. I think if they win this one, they're pretty much guaranteed in the playoffs already, so that's awesome.
That's great.
Seahawks presented by Shelton Health and Rehab, Riviera's Shellfish, South Sound Appliance, Dogtown Grooming, Neil's Pharmacy, and the Shelton Athletic Club. Again, more conversations throughout the morning here on Daybreak, and a good morning to you.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Good morning. It's Daybreak. I'm Spencer Hughes with Jeff Slakey. What a fascinating interview we have for you right now. We have Aneesh Chaudry, founder of Soul Physio Lifestyle, which is a brain health clinic and integrative healthcare network that specializes in treatments that combine both Eastern and Western medical techniques, which I'm fascinated by Eastern medicine and techniques and trying to learn more and read more on it. And Aneesh is going to have some information on that for us. He holds a bachelor's degree in neuropsychology from Wright State University and a personal training license through the Cooper Institute. His website is soulphysiolifestyle.com. Aneesh, what a pleasure to have you. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks so much for having me, Spencer. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, this is fascinating stuff. Anything that has to do with neuroscience, it's something in the last 5 years especially that I've become really, really interested in. Where did your fascination with this and interest come from? Was it at a young age? When did you start looking into things like even Eastern medical techniques, which still a lot of people are not well versed with?
No, that's correct. A lot of it was birthed from my own personal experience. I mean, I dealt with pretty significant mental illness and addiction issues through my teenage years into my early 20s. I was seeing a variety of different mental health professionals, and I was diagnosed with different conditions like depression, anxiety, bipolar, and a few others. And that really just set me on this journey where I was trying to figure out answers. And a big turning point for me was when I got my brain scanned in 2013, and it showed me that it wasn't really a problem with who I am as a person. I think that's so much of what perpetuates mental illness for many people, myself included, but rather learning that the brain is actually responding to our thoughts, feelings, actions, and emotions, ultimately shaping itself in response to the way that we carry ourselves throughout the day. And that just, like I mentioned, put me on this journey where I became very, very interested in self-healing, led to me getting my bachelor's in neuropsychology and a variety of other different wellness certifications in exercise, nutrition, yoga, meditation, genetics, really just getting a holistic understanding of the mind, the body, and the spirit, and kind of how they all roll into each other in terms of how they work together. And that's really what, now fast forward present day, I mean, I own 2 clinics in Southern California, and it's amazing because it just shows what I've done and how it's worked in healing myself and my own brain. So I thought it was just a no-brainer to kind of follow that path and be able to show others how to do the same thing.
Well, it really is amazing. You've touched on this, the healing power of the brain. And when I first learned of the placebo effect, I was fascinated. Then I kind of put it on the back burner going, yeah, that's cool. And then, 20 years later, I revisited it. And I'm obsessed with the placebo effect because, as you know, the mind can heal and the mind can make us sick. The mind can make us well, and the fact that a significant number of people in every trial where it's done pretty much can take a sugar pill told it's going to make their elbow a little more, less tight and stiff. And there's nothing in it but sugar. And then all of a sudden the doctor calls up and says, how you doing? Oh, my elbow's never felt better, doc. And that proves to me right there, that should be the headlines in the New York Times. Proof positive that the mind can heal you. I mean, what other explanation is there, Aneesh, other than the mind is doing the healing? I mean, the sugar pill has no effect. It's completely inert, medically speaking. So it has to be in the mind of the person believing that pill is going to do whatever it is. It's going to get rid of their acid reflux. It's going to get rid of their headache. It's going to get rid of their bowel problems, right? I mean, there's no significance to the pill itself. It has to be in the mind.
Right. That's exactly it. I mean, I think it shows that, like you said, once we think we're able to heal, that we will heal. And if we think we are sick, we are sick. And I think that's a lot of, like, an overlooked factor with mental illness is that, we think that taking a pill or taking Zoloft or an antidepressant or all these different medications is going to fix the mind, and it never will. It may, it's like playing a game of chemistry and hoping that, the right chemical can fix the problem. And it's like a very, very poor Band-Aid at best. And oftentimes it causes more problems than it does good. I mean, I spent 6 years of my life trying to find that right medication or that right, therapist. And I just came to the conclusion after 6 years of just being exhausted and trying every single method that the doctors told me to do. I'm like, these guys really don't know what they're doing. I mean, that was kind of the shocking moment for me when I realized that if I want to get better, I got to figure this out on my own. Like, there's got to be an answer, and what I've been doing is not the answer. And it's quite shocking and eye-opening, because I think we lean on society so much and the medical community so much when it comes to our health.
Yes.
But that's where, I had to look deeper and go into the Eastern side and realize that there are real healing modalities and real healing tools out there, but they're not readily available. Like, we have to go searching for them. And I think that's where there's a huge opportunity from a business standpoint, is to bring those tools to the surface and being able to share my story and say there is a better way.
And there is. And I always wondered, why isn't this front page of the New York Times? Why isn't this everywhere? And then as I got older and I started figuring this stuff out, I realized this is it's the same reason why we could probably make a car that gets 500 miles to the gallon, but we don't, because it's a threat to the oil industry. And this is a threat to the medical establishment. I would imagine if we discovered we could heal ourselves, I'm not saying we don't need doctors and doctors aren't important. I'm not saying that at all. But it would mean that the traditional person in the white lab coat, taking our vital signs and everything, might not be as integral to our healing as we initially thought. It would be a catastrophic blow, wouldn't it, to the establishment? I mean, it would mean trillions of dollars in jeopardy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where there's a unique opportunity for collaboration. I mean, I think the problem is that with the allopathic and Western model, they're trained in disease management and care of symptoms. That's the way the doctors are trained. That's the way the curriculum is designed. And so really those things come in with acute interventions like urgent care, surgery, if you have a virus, emergency rooms. That side of it, Eastern medicine can't replicate. But I think the problem is that we're relying on acute measures for chronic problems. And that's where, taking pills, we're not meant to be on pills for our whole entire lives. But that's where it is then a threat to the establishment from a monetary perspective, is that you think about how much money the pharmaceutical companies are making. It's, from my perspective, it's hard for me to believe that, the best interest of everybody in mind, and I don't want to go down on some conspiracy theorist rabbit hole, but once again, speaking from my own experience, that it's hard to imagine that there is not significant financial incentives that make it sometimes harder to put the care and real health of the patient first as opposed to focusing on the money.
We're speaking with brain health expert Aneesh Chaudry. Fascinating stuff. Let's bring this to back to school. And I have 6 kids. My wife and I, between us, have 6 children. One of them's actually just turned 24. The youngest is 13. And 3 of them are in school right now locally. A couple are in California. And I remember as a kid the back to school jitters. I don't care if it was kindergarten or college or first day of high school or whatever it was. The anxiety for me was off the charts, as it is for millions of kids every school season. There's just something about coming off of a summer vacation and then having to get back to the books, maybe for the first time in a new school or a new district or something, that can cause just off the charts anxiety, especially with young people. And now we throw in a pandemic, Aneesh, and things are even more stressful than ever. Now we've got kids not only starting up school, but now we're telling them they might not be able to be in the classroom. They got to be on Zoom. They're maybe self-conscious that they're on video. They're having to study and retain knowledge and learn in totally different ways that the kids not used to, the parents aren't used to, and even the teachers are struggling and the administrators. So let's talk a little bit about some tips for parents and kids in this really unprecedented school year. We've never in our lifetimes, I don't think, ever seen anything like this, correct?
No. We absolutely haven't. I mean, we're completely in uncharted waters, and I think that's what makes it very, very interesting and difficult for all parties involved. I mean, the students, the parents, and the faculty is the one common thread, is we're all doing the best we can do to navigate these completely new circumstances that we really haven't faced before. And I think that there's naturally going to be a significant amount of anxiety that comes with that. I think that when we speak about fear, and then fear is a word that, and not just a word, but a feeling that many people are having. I mean, there's two of the biggest fears that humans have is the fear of death and the fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. And both of them right now are being played on significantly. And so that's where it really, really takes conscious measures to be able to overcome that fear and incorporate healthy habits into our lifestyle that gets us to the point where we know that we're safe in the moment, and not just completely riddled with anxiety, because it's ultimately going to create trauma for the children in the long term, and that's just not a good situation.
A lot of parents aren't so lucky. they've been kind of thrown into this along with the rest of the world and billions of other people that they have no choice. They have to either sacrifice a job perhaps to be at home with their kids or hope that their boss is flexible enough to let them work from home during this pandemic. What are some tips that you can give to parents to help make this less stressful for themselves, but certainly for their kids, especially the younger ones who might be really stressed out?
Yeah, no, it's a great question and a very valid concern that many people share out there right now. And I think it really comes down to, at a fundamental level, that parents assuring their children on a regular basis that things will be okay, that what the situation is right now is temporary. And I think that, encouraging children to journal, to write down how they're feeling, even if they have no clue, just to spend time writing is a great tool for release, even if you have no clue what you're writing. And so I think for parents, they can set aside, 10 to 15 minutes a day where even the parents spend time writing in silence, keeping the devices away. That way then it becomes a safe space to kind of channel and have an outlet for your feelings. And I think that's an important thing, being able to make sure you're eating fresh foods, cooking at home as often as possible. I think those are all practical ways to be able to incorporate health and make it something so then it's a family activity and kind of takes your mind off of the world. And I think it's very important to be detoxing from devices, keeping the TV off, keeping the phones away for a set-aside period of time and making a practice out of it. Because I think if we're constantly feeding ourselves, new stuff, not to say it's not important to know what's going on, but with all of the different political news and stuff around COVID that's all just being blasted in our face all the time, that's always going to put us on edge. And so I think it's important to just be able to take a break from all that.
I'm Spencer Hughes with Jeff Slakey. Aneesh Chaudry's website is soulphysiolifestyle.com. More of the Daybreak Show coming up on iFiber One. Stay tuned.
iFiber One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 103.3 presents Daybreak.
Again, good Monday to you here, the 19th of October. Spencer, hold on. Let me move my tabs around here. I got so many open windows here on my desktop as we get ready for our next conversation. Oh, my gosh. And then I've got all these icons.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, it's a good lead-in because today is Digital Clutter Day or something. Is that what you got? What do you find?
Yeah, it's National Clean Your Virtual Desktop Day. So slobs like me who are just finally getting their actual desktops, their real desktops under control, now have our virtual desktops that are a mess. I've got hundreds of icons and folders on my Mac, and I've crashed the computer at work a few times by having too many tabs open. Yeah.
It's hard when you deal in so many PDFs and videos and images and news notes that we do here. It's just very easy to save as desktop because then you know where it is. It's easy to find, save as desktop. Yeah. And then one day you look at your desktop and whether or not you have a background photo or not, you wouldn't be able to see it regardless because there's icons everywhere and it's so overwhelming. I don't really even know where to start.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard. What I've done is I've tried to create folders that are either like home, work, podcast, right, radio, things like that.
Right.
And everything falls generally into one of those 4 folders or whatever. So I try to put them into there, but it doesn't work. I'm looking at it right now, and I've got 12 categories, but probably 200 little icons all over the desktop. But they're finding that it's not, people think that because it's not a physical space that's cluttered, that it's not that big of a deal, but it affects our concentration negatively, our ability to focus. It makes us overwhelmed, lessens our productivity. So that's why there's this day to kind of get on your virtual desktop. And that could be your phone. My phone has way too many things on there that I don't ever use. And I try to delete them every week, apps that I haven't opened maybe ever. I downloaded them and I never used them.
When I look at these things too, and I think Troy Jasmine from Computer Creations Northwest would tell you that when you have multiple things on your desktop too, it slows your computer down overall because it has to basically load all those files when your computer turns on each time. So if you've noticed some sluggishness as well, maybe it's a case to unload or archive a lot of these files. I'm looking at mine here, and it's a ton of videos, which are gigs. Each video is a gig at least. So very large in space, and it can cause the computer to lag there. And you're right, when you sit down and you look at the desktop, it can be overwhelming to do this. You could sort by file type and then try to delete that way, or go by date, but that's an important one. Clean off that desktop, virtual desktop. And then you said the tabs, that was another one. We were just kind of also looking over a quick article. We're not going to do too much about this, but the tabs, I will at times have 15 tabs open on my browser because you just never know if I'm going to get back to that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot open. I'm revealing a little too much here, knocking the fourth wall down. Like in the morning when you ask me, what's the weather look like today? I should be telling you that off the top of my head, but I have a tab open.
You should.
With the weather. So I have a tab open for that. I've got a rundown sheet. I've got my social media, of course. I've got news sites. I've got breaking news sites. And on average, I probably have 8 tabs open at one time. 8 or 10. And
that can all lead to... just a sense of overwhelming. Yep. So if you have a little time today, and this can be considered work, this is part of your work day to clean off your work desktop. So take a couple minutes, clean that off, maybe helps start your day tomorrow. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Well, more Daybreak Show is coming up. Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber One News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.